Big data is typically thought of in terms of the three V's: volume, variety and velocity. Firstly, firms are really struggling to get to grips with the sheer amount of data. It's coming at them thick and fast. The explosion of digital channels, the rise of social and mobile, the Internet of Things, not to mention all the transactional and other business related data they're collecting on a daily basis, as well as storing in historical archives. They're also really struggling with the variety of that data, the different forms it takes, both structured and unstructured. It comes from multiple sources. It often sits in a whole host of different platforms and systems, many of which don't talk to one another. The data sources are typically disconnected. And then there's velocity. First of all, the speed at which data is coming into the organisation, and then secondly, the speed with which it's expected to be acted upon or available for use. So the expectation now is real-time and even predictive capabilities. So those are the challenges, but what's less well discussed is how to meet those challenges. I was at an event last week in Dubai and we spoke about this with some of the executives there on a roundtable discussion looking at this very topic. Between us, we actually came up with another list of 3 V's to help contextualise how to tackle the big data challenge. So you need to ensure your data is valid, is vested and visual. So first up, valid. You need to ensure the right level of data quality. Think of the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. You can't work with bad information. Equally, it has to be the right sort of data. Not all data is created equal. Not all of it's useful, not all of it's relevant. So given the enormous volumes involved, you need to make that distinction work or you risk being swamped. So having some form of data governance will be key, so you know what you're working with. Speaking of governance, you need to think about the next V, vested. Who owns the data? If you don't have anyone willing to take ownership of it, responsibility for it, and therefore invested in what happens to it, then your data will stagnate. The overwhelming feeling last week was that it's the business users themselves who need to be responsible for their own data. That's a key message to get across. Finally, you need to ensure your data, or at least the insight and analysis part, has a visual aspect to it. So think about dashboards and infographics, charts and graphs. Information has to be easily understood in order to be acted upon, so you need to ensure you have a visualization element built into your big data strategy. Communicate how and why the data can make a difference to the organisation in terms easily understood by the business. So, valid, vested and visual. Get those 3 things right and you're on your way to unlocking the most important V of all, value.